Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So the theme of this podcast is about the Riddle board game, which you've seen in the
Yeah.
past. So we're trying to bring all the real estate players together, like property lawyers, architects, town planners, and so on, into the game, and each of them would act as their specialist,
Mm,
expert in their own field.
mm.
So if you were to explain to a 12-year-old kid, what do you do in a very simple terms, what it would be?
Yeah. Well, I think at a very basic level, my job and any lawyer's job really is to help people through their lives and to facilitate the different things that they're trying to achieve. In terms of the board game specifically as an anchor point, all of the steps that you're taking have legal elements. Your leasing licensing of particular properties to have access and use, development issues and development hurdles that you might run into along the way. Those are all things that a property lawyer can assist on, and we can work with individuals to make sure that they achieve their goals in the end, because people do run into these roadblocks and they need that specialist knowledge to be able to help overcome those things and reach their end goal and achieve the project. So for a younger audience, it comes down to just that. I mean, the world has different things happening in it, and we as lawyers, our job is to work alongside our clients to get them to where they're going, help them to overcome those hurdles.
Right, right, yeah. I guess, I mean, if we refer it back to the game, in the game, there's a number of phases from acquisition all the way to title and settlement.
Yes.
There's a lot of legal aspect from
Yes.
acquisition to design and approval to even tender and contract. So you guys would be reviewing the tender document before it goes out to builders and so on. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I think the important thing there to understand at a very basic level is that each of those steps, yes, a lot of the time can be viewed as very standard, but getting that advice at the start early on saves a lot of headache and trouble down the track. Because if you miss a key trick or a problem at the start, that problem will just grow and grow and grow as the project continues. And the last thing that you want to do is to have that problem suddenly land in its larger size towards the end of the project. And all of a sudden, everything that you've worked towards is at risk and may come down crashing around you. So our job through each of those stages is to make sure that people are aware of what they're getting themselves into, especially on the contracting and tendering side of things. There are things in life that are outside of anyone's control. How are we allocating that risk? How are we making sure that there's a fair division between, say, a builder and a developer as to who's going to have that liability if there's a bit of a delay, if there's cost increases, if there's completely unexpected things that happen on site? What about insurance issues? All of that comes into the picture.
I guess if we refer back to the game again, we adopted the concept of, if someone wants to do it themselves, there's always a major risk there, and not engaging a professional service to help them acquire, or to help them review their contract and so on. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's all about the knowledge that's there. And certainly, as I said in my early description about our role, we intend to work alongside people. So we're giving knowledge and access to our experience and our, I guess, interactions within the industry as a whole to help people avoid problems that we see, have occurred to others, and to help them, even if they are doing many things themselves. And obviously there's a cost balancing exercise in any project. Even if they're doing many things themselves, being well informed and well armed is going to make all of the difference as a project proceeds. Because at a very basic level, you don't know what you don't know, and it's good to get that advice at the start, just to give you a little bit of that benefit of the experience and history that others have had.
Totally true. Yeah, because some people might say, okay, we've done a couple of projects, we know the contract, in and out. Let's just use the same contract on a different project, copy and paste, and so be it, and not engaging the lawyer again. So what would you say in that situation?
Sure. So certainly maybe that contract might be 90% right, in each circumstance to another. Every property has its own little twists and turns. And it'll be that twist and turn, that 10% difference, or it might only be a 1% difference that will actually cause the problem at the end. And once time becomes a key factor, once the costs are a big issue because you've outlaid all of the development costs and you haven't got any money in the door yet, that's when you're in a very vulnerable position as a developer. And you have to be careful of putting yourself in that position without having some balances along the way. And that's where, and I think anyone, when they're interacting with, whether it's an accountant or a lawyer, is to be clear on the scope of what you're asking them to do. So, like I said, the costs are definitely an issue that people need to factor in. And the question there is to be saying to your lawyer, look, this is an agreement I've used multiple occasions without issue. I know it inside out. I want to be using this form of the document, but for this particular project, can you just limit what you're advising me on to X, Y, Z specific aspects to deal with that property or that project, so that at least you get that risk analysis to go, okay, they're not reinventing the wheel from scratch. The cost should not be as if they were doing the whole thing from nothing. In a very limited circumstance, they should be able to give you that advice just narrowly on what you need, and obviously the costs will be lower on that basis. Lawyers all have a professional obligation to be telling you upfront what the costs are going to be, and so have that discussion always. As with everything else in the development sphere, feasibility is key. So always have that discussion about price at the start, so that you're not in for any surprises towards the end.
That's it. Yeah.